From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
I, Kate Gallego.
I, Kate Gallego.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Newly elected Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego taking the oath of office today. We break down her top priorities as she accepts her new duties.
Plus, new heat fueling the fire between President Trump and the McCain family. Tonight, we're sitting down with experts in Washington, D.C. to see what they think is on the president's mind.
And the Arizona State men's basketball team scored their first tournament win in a decade. We talked to the Sun Devils to see how they're using that momentum as they advance into the next round.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Taylor Rocha.
And I'm Bobby Kraus. Thank you for joining us. Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego has big plans for the city.
She talked about them during her swearing-in ceremony today. Reporter Claire Kelly was there. Claire, what are her priorities?
Mayor Kate Gallego talked about her plans to continue developing the area around the Salt River, working to end homelessness in our city, and investing in the employees and the infrastructure. Phoenicians gathered at Orpheum Theater in downtown Phoenix for the swearing-in of newly elected Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. Gallego's inauguration speech included her plans to create good jobs by growing small businesses, protecting the Phoenix light rail system, and giving police new technology to protect our community. But overall, her speech was full of optimism.
Phoenix has been good to so many of us, but our city's best days are ahead. With our collective imagination, passion, and ingenuity, our children will tell theirs about what we have accomplished. Let's build a city worthy of our promise. Let's write the next chapter together. Thank you.
Gallego becomes the 61st mayor of Phoenix after a special election to fill the seat of now Congressman Greg Stanton. Claire Kelly, Cronkite News.
A light rail expansion planned for West Phoenix has reached a roadblock. In a 5-3 vote, the Phoenix City Council decided to delay the extension to use the money for street repairs instead. The light rail line was expected to open in 2026. It would have continued the current track west on Camelback Road, connecting it to Grand Canyon University and ending at 43rd Avenue. Business owners in the area argued the line was no longer viable since Glendale voted down its light rail plan in 2017.
U.S. Republican Senator Martha McSally and the Department of Defense have reached an agreement to quickly form a task force to combat sexual assaults in the military. Cronkite News reporter Bayon Wang has been following the announcement and says the task force already has a list of short-term plans. Bayon, how will this initiative assist sexual assault victims in the military?
Yeah, their focus right now is to improve military responses when an allegation of sexual assault has been made. This includes the way they investigate sexual assaults and the way they prosecute them. For Martha McSally, this is a personal matter as much as it is a professional one. Earlier this month at a Senate Armed Services subcommittee, McSally said she was raped by a superior officer during her service in the Air Force. Nearly 2 weeks after this revelation, McSally wrote a letter to the acting Secretary of Defense, Patrick Shanahan, calling for a task force to combat sexual assault in the military. Shanahan responded saying, quote, "DoD leadership is committed to fixing this, and I look forward to working with Senator McSally and our task force to find solutions that will eliminate the issue from our ranks."
So this has been a journey that I didn't expect to be on, just to be candid with you all. Not one that I would have chosen, not one that I had even planned for if we had talked a month ago as to what we're focusing on in my office. But sometimes, you're asked to step up and lead on issues that are maybe personally painful for you, but you have a unique perspective to lead on.
McSally says she is hoping to meet with a group of task force leaders next week to discuss what other initiatives could help stop sexual assault in the military. Live in the broadcast center, Bayon Wang, Cronkite News.
Right now, U.S. Border Patrol is releasing asylum-seeking migrants who were recently caught in Rio Grande Valley. Rather than turning them into U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to be detained, they let 50 migrants go on Tuesday. An estimated 200 more were released by last night. Officials say overcrowding has been an issue in detention centers. Both Customs and Border Protections say safety at detention centers is a primary concern. Released migrants are given a date to attend a court hearing to determine their eligibility for asylum.
If you felt Arizona has been a little more crowded lately, it may not just be because of our sunny weather and spring training. A new study shows we ranked number 10 for net growth migration last year. That means Arizona is one of the states with the most people moving into it. The top Arizona city people moved to is Tucson. And the big reason for Arizona's growth? Apparently, people can't wait to move away from California. California was the top state people moved away from in 2018. And the California to Arizona move was the third most popular.
Do you remember what President Donald Trump said yesterday about defense spending and manufacturing jobs? If you don't, you're not alone. The biggest headline from the president's speech at an Ohio tank plant was when he veered into an attack on the late Arizona Senator John McCain. The fallout from that speech is still being felt, as Alyssa Klink reports live from our Washington bureau. Alyssa?
The president's comments yesterday were just the latest in a string of insults that sparked to life again on Saturday, as they so often do with this president, in a series of tweets. It's not surprising that the president has no love for the former Arizona senator. What's surprising people about this latest round is that it comes almost 7 months after McCain's death.
Who would think of attacking someone who's dead, let alone a former senator, let alone a former war hero, let alone someone who ran as the head of the Republican Party a couple of presidential elections ago?
How about the man who ran as the party's nominee in the last election?
I endorsed him at his request, and I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president I had to approve. I don't care about this. I didn't get thank you. That's okay. Not my kind of guy, but some people like him, and I think that's great.
That was Trump yesterday at an Army tank plant in Ohio. His 40-minute speech suddenly veered into a 6-minute jab at McCain. It followed weekend tweets in which Trump blamed McCain for the investigation into Russian meddling in the election. Meghan McCain defended her father on Twitter, then fired back this week on her talk show, The View.
Your life is spent on your weekends, not with your family, not with your friends, but obsessing over great men you could never live up to. That tells you everything you need to know about his pathetic life right now.
Several Republican senators have come forward to defend their former colleague and chastise Trump, whose attacks are hurting him more than they're hurting McCain, says Arizona pollster Mike Noble.
Rhetoric like this is probably not going to help the cause when it comes to the 2020 general election.
Noble says that's because many Arizonans still respect McCain, which is one reason Talon says Trump needs to let it go.
Listen, if you didn't like him, that's fine, but to go to this level and say the things that he did, it's just, that's a new achievement, unquote, of, you know, a new low of attacking someone who's passed away.
There may be another unintended consequence for the president. Noting that her late husband's legacy of integrity is under attack, Cindy McCain today put out a fundraising appeal for the McCain Institute to carry on the senator's work. In Washington, Alyssa Klink, Cronkite News.
The Suns Arena is partnering with nonprofit Culture City to enhance the experience for guests with sensory needs. They'll start offering items like verbal cue cards, fidget tools, and noise-reducing headphones. Arena staff has been trained by medical professionals on how to recognize guests who have sensory needs and may require assistance. They've also been trained on how to handle a sensory overload situation. Guests with these extra needs are encouraged to download Culture City's app to see available items and where to find them in the arena. New bundles of joys are supposed to bring just that to a family's life, joy.
But complications during pregnancy can turn one of the happiest days into one of the darkest. Next on Cronkite News, what lawmakers are doing in Arizona to help save mothers' lives during difficult pregnancies and childbirth complications.
And Facebook under fire once again, and Starbucks turns its green logo into a green initiative. All this and more when we break down our top 5 consumer headlines after the break.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
The birth of a child should be the happiest time for a new family.
But according to the Arizona Department of Health Services, about 1,000 women die every year from complications related to pregnancy and childbirth.
Cronkite News reporter Alexis Pulick spoke to a family who lost a new mother.
Complications can arise during delivery or even several days after. That's what happened to Ariana Dottie, and her family doesn't want others to experience their suffering.
It's supposed to be such a happy day, a celebration, and my daughter goes into the hospital and doesn't come back out.
Ariana Dottie's pregnancy was normal. In August, she gave birth to her third child. Everything appeared fine, but then she experienced complications.
Yeah, I get a call from her mom saying that she's back in the hospital, and so I just go to the hospital and to find out what's going on. And when I got there, she was already passed. I spoke to the medical examiner's office yesterday, and her death is classified as natural causes, and but it was a torn uterus where all the blood loss came from.
Senator Kate Brophy McGee heard this family's story and wanted to help. McGee is sponsoring Senate Bill 1040. If passed, the bill would create a committee of medical experts to make recommendations to avoid maternal death.
So the committee actually has two tasks, and the first is to make sure that the data is up to date and that we have accurate and complete data, not just for maternal mortality, but also maternal morbidity. And the second task is to develop recommendations from there for our hospitals, our birthing centers, our nurses, our doctors, our OBGYNs, to ensure that the proper care and follow-up following a birth is provided.
According to the Global Burden of Disease study, the U.S. has a higher rate of maternal mortality compared to countries like Germany or Spain.
In Arizona and the rest of the U.S., it's been getting worse year after year. And so the March of Dimes and a lot of other folks are really out there saying, hey, we've got the ability to do better. Let's do better and prevent some of these maternal mortality tragedies.
Senate Bill 1040 passed the Senate and is being heard by the House Health Committee.
I think that it's important to recognize the people that have come forward to share their story. These folks are working professionals, nurses, parents, and they take time out of their day to come down and talk about how important this is.
Garcia hopes that this bill will help educate families on the risks associated with pregnancy and birth.
I feel like ringing an alarm bell, so all the mothers and soon-to-be fathers could just be aware, so they can go in and ask questions and be self-advocating.
In the House Health Committee hearing today, Senate Bill 1040 was passed, and it will continue making its way through the legislature for possible approval. Alexis Pulick, Cronkite News.
Taking a look now at your top 5 consumer headlines of the day. First, despite the creation of thousands of jobs, Arizona's unemployment rate of 5.1% has remained firm. A report released by the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity says the state's economy added more than 30,000 jobs since January. The government sector added nearly 12,000 in February, and private sectors added more than 18,000 jobs in the same month.
Next, more problems for Facebook. The social media giant admitting today it failed to properly hide the passwords of hundreds of millions of its users. Facebook says the passwords were stored in an internal database that its workers were able to access. The issue was discovered back in January during a security review. The company says it will notify users if their passwords were affected.
Starbucks' new compostable cups could be the sustainable answer they've been searching for decades. The coffee company says the new cup will be tested in 5 cities later this year. It looks just like Starbucks' current paper cup, but the main difference is the new cup swaps the previous plastic liner with a new biodegradable one. That liner makes the cup compostable in commercial composting facilities, which is rare.
A major baby cough syrup product has been recalled due to a bacterial contamination. The affected medicine comes in a 2-ounce bottle labeled DG Health Baby Cough Syrup and Mucus. The contamination has the potential to put children at risk for 2 forms of gastrointestinal illness. The product is sold nationwide in Dollar General retail stores.
And finally, you still have a chance to win over $500 million. Nobody won last night's Powerball drawing. That means the jackpot is now up to $625 million. That's the 7th largest in U.S. lottery history. The next drawing will be on Saturday, March 23rd.
The city of Peoria is turning to ASU for help with its water conservation efforts.
Up next, how students are working with local governments to help create more sustainable solutions.
The heat is coming back. Coming up, I'll give you your 7-day forecast.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
The city of Peoria is working with Arizona State University to figure out the best ways to conserve water. As Cronkite News reporter Peter Gong explains, it's part of an effort to have students work on real-world problems.
The city of Peoria has never dealt with a water shortage even during drought, and Lisa Estrada, the city's sustainability manager, wants to keep it that way.
We all use water, and we need to really have a better understanding of how we consume the water and what are we going to do to encourage further a decrease in water consumption.
That's why Peoria turned to ASU to get help with implementing a water shortage response plan and another one that focuses on conservation.
What we hope to do is now look at all of our plans and look at what we've done and say, what do we need to do further should the time come where we need to actually do a shortage response plan.
The city already has several water conservation measures, but Estrada says Peoria wants to know what the best practices are.
We encourage xeriscape landscaping and low water use, the right tree, the right place. And we have lots of programs that really educate the public and our residents about water conservation.
Project Cities is a research program where students work with local governments to create solutions on sustainability challenges.
Project Cities was created to have a more concentrated connection and have more of a local impact with our one designated local community. So as you know, through our charter with ASU, we want to be socially embedded with our local communities. And so the Project Cities program is the perfect way for us to engage our students with the needs of a local community.
The city of Apache Junction was the first city to participate in Project Cities, and one of the things they focused on was solid waste management.
ASU students found that Apache Junction faced issues with trash, including residents burning garbage on their property.
So they found about 100 cases a year where there were complaints about people burning trash. Again, that's a public health issue. It's an air quality issue related to public health. It's a nuisance issue with the neighbors.
Apache Junction put a plan in place that prohibits people from dumping trash on public and private property. It's that type of action that the city of Peoria hopes to learn from students as they bring fresh eyes to the city's efforts to respond to future water challenges. In Peoria, Peter Gahn, Cronkite News.
Some of the other projects for Peoria that Project Cities is looking at include a community-wide placemaking survey and an investigation into smart city technologies.
It may officially be the second day of spring, but it's far from feeling like it in the high country. Check out this live webcam from Arizona Snowball, where they got more than 3 inches of snow last night, bringing the season's total to a whopping 314 inches. And because of that, Snowball is extending their season to Thursday through Sunday, all the way through late April. And Jody Guerrero joins us now, and it seems like every week Arizona's weather is just doing something different.
I know, and the temperature is really ranging across the state as it is right now. It's been really sunny here in Phoenix earlier today, and there were partly clouds, but the clouds are really starting to come in now. It's 66 degrees right now, and there's a little bit of wind, but not too bad. There's about 8 miles per hour of wind. As we're looking at our temperatures across the state, though, up in the north, the Grand Canyon and Flagstaff are in the 30s and 40s. The Rim is in the 40s and 50s, and then Yuma is almost reaching that 70-degree mark. This evening at 6 p.m., it's going to continue to be cloudy actually throughout the night. We're going to start at 66 degrees, and then it's slowly going to inch down into the 60s. This weekend it's going to be pretty hot. The clouds are coming back though. Going to be in the 70s and 80s, lows in the 50s. And then next week you're going to see it's going to be cloudy as well, but we're reaching that 90-degree mark on Tuesday and then moving back down into the 70s by Thursday. With your Cronkite News weather update, I'm Jody Guerrero.
The ASU men's basketball team is still dancing after their win in Dayton, Ohio last night.
We've got all the details straight ahead and a look at what's next for this rising team.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
Arizona State men's basketball is still alive in the NCAA tournament.
The Sun Devils knocked out St. John's in the first 4 in Dayton, Ohio, and now they're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, getting ready for a Friday matchup with Buffalo.
And Tulsa's where we find our own Chancellor Johnson, who joins us live with a story about a special guest at yesterday's game. Chance?
Yeah, guys, out here in Tulsa, where ASU actually just finished up wrapping up practice probably about an hour ago as they prepare to take on Bobby Hurley's old school, the Buffalo Bulls. Now you can add that to the long list of connections he has in college basketball, but perhaps not as strong as a connection as he has with his brother Dan Hurley, who he won his first NCAA tournament game in front of less than 24 hours ago.
Just looking over to him, I got a little strength. You know, I usually only have my wife behind the bench to look at for strength in some tough moments, but it was nice to have more reinforcements.
But it's such a, unbelievable feeling of pride, advancing, winning a game, getting a chance now to play in Tulsa, on Friday. So just tremendous joy, and obviously, seeing that Bob out there was pretty cool.
Coaching blood runs strong in the Hurley family. Bobby, the head coach at ASU, Dan, the head coach at UConn, and both the sons of legendary high school coach Bob Hurley Sr. Dan doesn't get to see his brother often because of their respective coaching duties thousands of miles apart. But when they do, it's always a special moment.
We're so close and we talk so much. Just getting a chance to spend time with him this afternoon a little bit, it just means everything.
Even the players appreciated the cameo appearance from Bobby's brother, including Zalon Cheatham, who embraced Dan after the game.
I mean, honestly, I thought it was Bobby, to be honest. He's an unbelievable guy, and I mean, anybody that's family and my coach is family to me. So I just wanted to do a good job in embracing him and pretty much letting him know that we appreciate the support flying out here. He didn't have to do that.
Now, in Zion's defense, they do kind of look alike. I spoke to Dan Hurley yesterday, who told me he has to get back on the recruiting trail, but as long as ASU continues to win, he'll be here. In Tulsa, Chancellor Johnson, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the official news division of Arizona PBS.
Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we speak with the author of a new biography of former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor and a performance by Australian saxophonist Amy Dixon. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour, celebrating Nowruz inside an Iranian kitchen during the Persian New Year. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for tonight's Cronkite News. Thank you so much for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.